been very interesting to see Nigel Farage having his I told you so moments on GB News. And of course, what he's talking about is the sectarianisation of British politics and Islamists standing all over the country on the Free Palestine ticket and from the river to the sea ticket and the I support Hamas ticket. And Farage has been saying, well, I warned this was going to happen. I told you this was going to happen. Well, that's interesting, Nigel, because when Gerrard Batten took over the party that you were heavily involved in fact, you led until just after Brexit, when Gerrard Batten took over, you were not happy with Gerrard Batten taking over, and you weren't happy with him getting Tommy Robinson involved with the party, and you weren't happy with him getting veterans and football lads involved in the party. And in fact, what actually happened, as this video that I'm about to show you everybody will see that I'm not making this up. These are words straight out of Farage's mouth. What happened was we lost an opportunity. And you'll see it in the video that I'm going to show you now. We lost an opportunity.
Gerrard Batten wants to do is get this, frankly, thug involved with the party. I was very insistent as leader that nobody could join us if they'd been former members of the EDL or the BNP. I did not want the far right getting involved with Ukip. I wanted to make tough arguments about illegal immigration, what was happening in the Mediterranean, all the rest of it, without any taint, of racism or Islamophobia or whatever it may be. And I can't believe that the current Ukip leader wants to welcome in the founder of the EDL. But worst of all, they're now planning a rally in London on the 9th of December where Robinson and Batten will speak. It's a march through Westminster. I know what will happen. It'll be full of skinheads and people with tattooed to the eyeballs. They'll all be drunk before they get there. There'll be punch-ups and God knows what. And the next day, it's the vote on the Brexit thing. I mean, and this is how Brexit will look. It'll look like a bunch of far-right football thugs, and I am absolutely disgusted by it. So I've held my silence as a former party leader until now, but we now have to get rid of this bloke as leader, because he's not just damaging UKIP, he's damaging Brexit. 25 years of my life to take a fringe organisation to winning a national election, to forcing a referendum, to helping to win it. On paper, UKIP's the most successful party in history. And to see it now be dragged into literally the street, literally street fighting, yobby, thuggy, nasty, extremist, racist, I'm heartbroken by it.
And what was that opportunity? Well, when Nigel was calling us skinheads, tattooed thugs, there was going to be riots in Whitehall. We were going to wreck the place. Of course, the demo he's talking about, I could show you a video of that as well. It was totally peaceful, good-natured. People of all backgrounds, middle class, working class, standing together, supporting UKIP, supporting the party that could have made a massive difference in the country. And the reality of this is, and it's a lesson that we should all learn when we're looking at reform and any other party. If UKIP had kept going in the direction of travel that Gerrard Batten was trying to take it in, and Gerrard Batten is probably the greatest leader that Britain never had, thanks to the higher echelons, the deep state, the deep state in UKIP, let's just say, and we saw what Farage says in this video. We've just seen it. He said he needs to go, talking about Gerrard Batten. So there was a coup within UKIP, and Gerrard was removed, and I can't even remember the name of the guy that took over, but it was a complete farce. So we would have had a party that by now, it would have been doing exactly what Reform's trying to do, except that it would have had all the structure. It would have been a party that was awake on the danger and threat of Islamism and Islamists and radical Islam, whatever label you want to put on it. We all know what I'm talking about. It would have been ready for this election, and we would have been in a position where we could have wiped the floor with the Conservative Party and with the Labour Party, because the Labour Party is always going to split. The Labour Party now can only go in one of two directions. It can either completely compromise with the Islamists, which I believe it will do, especially with this all-party definition of Islamophobia, which we've talked about on many occasions before. So I think the Labour Party will either split or it will compromise. And my bet is that Starmer will find a way of compromising and giving Islamists their little shopping list and their wish list. And of course, once you've been held hostage, the hostage taker is going to keep coming back for more and more and more and take every single pound of flesh that he can get out of you. And that's what's going to happen to the Labour Party with the Islamists. But instead of that, we've got the Reform Party, a plastic party that polled appallingly in terms of actually getting seats. Yes, they got the vote out, but it's a wasted vote because all that vote does is give the Labour Party a majority. And my recommendation to anyone, I'm in Northern Ireland, I'll be voting for a unionist unity candidate in my constituency. And again, deep staters are trying to get at him as well, but that's another story. If I was in England, and I hate to say this, if I was in England for the next election, I would vote Conservative. If I was in Scotland, I'd vote Conservative. Because the last thing that we want is Labour by default getting a whopping great big majority, because that is going to be a disaster for the country. Getting back to the Ukip thing and Reform and all these other political parties on the right, what we should have done, if the truth be told, what we should have done when we had that movement is started our own political party. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it takes time. But we would have been, 5-6 years down the road. We should have started something ourselves. And what I'm suggesting, we can't join another party because the parties that are already established, they're not going to bend to us. They're going to try and get us to bend to them. So what we need to do, we need to start our own party. It's as simple as that. We should have done it when we did the Ukip thing. And again, I've got to put my hands up. I was heavily involved in the Ukip thing. I was heavily involved in trying to get Gerrard elected as leader. There was a lot of stuff went on in the background. I was heavily involved in trying to bring Tommy and Ukip together. And the reality is, it was a bad fit. So what we need, and we're not going to have it in time for this next election, and even if we join some micro party, it's not going to make a difference. What we need is a well-funded, well-organised, serious political party that represents the British working class, that is centrist, that is very, very strong on Islamism, very, very strongly against the extremes, whether it be the communists on one side or the goose-stepping lunatics on the far right, very, very strong against anti-Semitism, and very, very, very pro-British and pro our Judeo-Christian heritage and pro-promoting our country as the great country it is. A real, genuine, middle-of-the-road, centre-ground, patriotic party that is the party for all the people of the United Kingdom, but stands against the extremists that want to destroy this country, whether they be globalists, whether they be communists, whether they be fascists, or whether they be Islamists. We need a party that's against all those. And there isn't one. That's the truth. There actually isn't one. You can tell by the policies that the Reform Party are putting out. And the smaller parties, they do not have the strength in numbers. They do not have the financial backing. So we need something big. We need something that is well funded and has some very, very clever people in it. And that needs to happen. Like I say, it will not happen before the next election, or not in a way that will make a difference. Because at the minute, the last thing we want to do is give the Labour Party by default a massive majority that they don't deserve. The thought of a Labour Party in government is absolutely horrific. So that's what I'm making this video for. I'm just putting it out there. We need a new party. And we need it to be ready to be very, very serious in, is it 2029, the next election after this one? I think it is. We need it to be a very serious party for 2029. It needs to appeal to the working classes that don't vote. It needs to appeal to middle class people that think like us, and there's a lot of them out there. And the elitists and the people in the Westminster bubble, they need to get the shock of their life, because I don't believe for a minute that Reform is a genuine radical party. I think Reform is conservative light. I don't know what they're playing at, because they know that all they're going to do is guarantee a massive Labour majority if they do get some traction. And I think that there's a possibility that the British people will look at it and go, no, we're not going to play that game. So I'm just putting it out there. I think that's what we need. I think we need that. We need that centrist, serious political party. Tommy needs to be massively involved. I'm not speaking for Tommy, because at the end of the day, it's up to him what he does. But to me, you need Tommy massively involved in it. You need some of these other guys that have massive followings on social media involved in it. But we need to start building it now. That's my opinion. I think that the country is in a dire state and a dire situation, and there is no alternative out there at the minute. And in terms of how we do that, well, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of blood, sweat and tears. But it needs to be done, and it needs to be done fast. So just put it out there. Be very, very wary of Nigel Farage and any party that he has anything to do with. And I think what we need to do as a people, as patriotic people, as people who love this country and hate the extremism that we're seeing from all sides, what we need to do is prepare for 2029 and keep our powder dry. And with God's help, we'll maybe have something that can turn the tide. But the clock's ticking, and I think we're in a very serious situation, and we need to think very seriously about what we all do next. See you all soon.